You're. All right. Everybody ready? You guys are good? Okay, so. Good. Sit. All right. So call to order the Monday, April the 24th. Regular meeting of municipal council. The next item on our agenda is approval of the agenda. Can I have a mover and a seconder for the agenda?
I have it.
Oh, yeah, it's always you.
Yeah. Moved by myself and second by Council Smell. Municipality Council approves agenda as presented.
Right, so moved and seconded. Are there any additions or changes to the agenda? We recognize that Dr. Lee will be late. We don't need to change the agenda. We are just going to move it down the agenda if she arrives, and we will deal with it. We will deal with that. Okay, so moved and seconded, then I'll call the question. All in favor? Good. We are on to the disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. Does anyone have a pecuniary interest to declare tonight?
None by me. None by me.
Hearing none, we will move on to delegations and presentations. And first, we did have Dr. Lee, who may be in Spencerville. We will give her. We will hopefully see her later. So we will move on to 4B, which is municipal scent. Road cut permit for Mr. John Carmichael. Welcome, Mr. Carmichael. You, I think you've presented to council before. I know you know the 10-minute sort of cutoff. We're pretty lenient with the time, and you know we're good to hear you out. So I know the group may or may not ask questions whenever you're done, but fire away. I'm gonna set a timer for 10, but fire away.
That's going to be great. So you can follow along with the presentation.
Thank you.
I will. Did you submit any to staff? Was that
I haven't gotten a chance yet.
I can straight.
Guess here's fine, or
Yeah. Go ahead.
so yeah, no. First of all, I'd love to introduce myself tonight. Those I do know most communications and the few things that I don't know. So for that reason, I just want to introduce myself. I'm Sean Carmichael.
Wait, Mr. Carmichael, you just move to your left or right just for the because of the.
It's on recording. It's on recording. Yeah, there you go.
There you go. That's fine.
So yeah, so I just want to introduce myself. First and foremost, full-time cash cropper here in the township of Eversburg, approximately about 1,000 acres within the township. I do wear many hats. My part-time ambitions, I'm also an Ontario Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Affairs certified drainage superintendent. I do represent people part-time in the POA court, court of drainage referee, and also a small claims court. Presently, we're starting an agritourism business on the farm, and I also have a drainage supervision business that I've been active in for probably the better part of 30 years. Two numbers I want you to remember tonight: 38 and 1. And I'll get back to that at the end of my presentation. Purpose for here tonight is for a road cut permit to connect an existing tile drainage system on the east side of my farm that the township right away runs through the farm that I need to connect to the west side. This would involve putting in a 4-inch tile through the road to connect both systems so that the east side will have an outlet on the west side that is already existing. The reason we are doing this is, as I said earlier, we are starting an alpaca business on the farm. It's an agritourism business which will be drawing a lot of not only local but national, international client customers to the farm. with the main goal of alpaca trekking on the farm. We've spent the better part of last year constructing a new post and beam barn, where we'll have a gift shop within the barn, where we'll do the alpaca trekking out of that premises. And as any business, first impressions are everything. What we have, you know, if I can say, we do have a beautiful operation. And the first thing we see when you come onto our farm is this great big water hole right now. This is why we're here again. We were here prior to September of 22. We approached council about a road cut permit at that point in time to deal with this water. I'll take you to if you can turn to the next page that I gave to you in the handout. You'll see that on September 19th, 2022, there is a letter from Public Works Environmental Services Facility about the request that we asked for. I'm not going to go through the background because I think I've kind of already explained the background to you. But I will just highlight that in the second paragraph, there is little to no functional ditch on either side of Campbell Road in this area. Campbell Road is the road that dissects through our farm, cuts it from the east side to the west side. Allowing and joining outlet from the east to the west of the Campbell Road may provide for better road drainage and benefit the overall road maintenance and nothing but benefiting Mr. Carmichael's fields. Bylaw 2013 regulates use and work performed on public highways, the installation of entranceways, and to prohibit the obstruction of any drain, ditch, or water course within providing outlet to any public highway. Financial consideration: the applicant will be responsible for all associated costs. Recommendation from the Public Works is that committee recommends that council direct staff to provide Mr. Carmichael with municipal consent to undertake the culvert installation in Campbell Road to connect the east side, the west side of the Caledonia system. So that was a recommendation that was made to council at that time. And it was something that was brought before council, which to me was a little bit baffling when I was reading the bylaws, because the bylaws are very clear. You'll see that if you turn to page 5 in the handout. Yeah. And go down to municipal consent conditions under the bylaws. You will see that it says all proposed installation of any work done within the township of Everett Cardinal right away is not permissible without a municipal consent from the Public Works Department. Nowhere in there did it say anything about presenting in front of council. And let me be very clear, bylaws are written for a reason. They're not to be ambiguous, they're not to be interpreted by me, by staff, by council, or anybody else, but so that we know what is to be expected. So, why I was brought before council, I have no idea. It is the purview of the roads department to issue that permit. So the only thing that we'll walk through the bylaw to see that, okay, one, do I qualify as an applicant? So again, if you turn to page 5, look at their own definitions under the bylaw. What is an applicant? An applicant means any person. Well, last time I checked, I was a person. Firm, organization, corporation, association, utility company, commission, agency, municipal department, or private party. I think we might even apply the private party too. So, we know what qualifies as an applicant. 2, does the infrastructure qualify under the bylaw? Does that mean that what I want to put underneath the road, does it qualify? Well, let's turn again, page 6, in the bylaw, and let's read what the bylaw has to say. You'll go down to plant. Now, it's not meant as a plant, this is something that grows out of the ground, plant is meant infrastructure. Plant means any infrastructure referred to a utility system, including pole, cables, pipes. I want to establish 4-inch pipe under the road. So it qualifies. Thirdly, who makes the decision to grant a permit? Again, I'll reiterate on page 2. The decision to make the grant permit lies with the Public Works Department. Period. So I'm here again tonight. Simply I ask and request that that permit be granted. Please follow the bylaws. That's all I'm asking. Conclusion 38, the one that I mentioned at the start. Today, I've got 38 excuses as to why I can't do this. All I'm asking for is one reason why she can't. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Hi, Doctor. Okay, so I'm gonna open it up to questions from council, okay? In regard to the presentation, does anyone have questions for Mr. Carter? In regard to.
I don't, and by me.
No. And I think. I think I'm gonna ask one to staff. So. I was on that last council. I don't remember specifically. I remember the discussion. In my mind, the application was withdrawn. But did council deny permit?
Through the chair, decision at that time from the committee was that that it should be culvert installed and it should be installed by in-house forces, and that the applicant fees. So I believe that the public works manager provided Mr. Carmichael with the cost estimate following that meeting. And at that time, Mr. Carmichael withdrew his application.
And okay, so council requested then that staff do a culvert installation across the road, and then if Mr. Carmichael wished to drain, that drain would go through the cross culvert. Is that
The title green to go through that cross.
okay? And Mr. Carmichael's argument's an interesting one for me. I'm going to need some more information on it, I think. But is that the bylaw is not open to interpretation, and that B, municipal consent only applies to utilities. It doesn't apply to, the way that I think I'm hearing him speak, is that it doesn't apply to all of the other folks that are written in that. That rule doesn't apply to a natural person. It only applies to a utility. Is that what you're?
Well,
Is that what you're?
not quite.
I just want to make sure that I ask for the right information from staff perspective. So
If you read the bylaw, it's, the bylaw is not specific to utility.
Right.
Right, the bylaw is very clear. Any person, any utility, any private party, any organization, it's not a utility. Bylaw is very clear. So I'm applying for that permit as a person.
Right.
And
Not a utility.
no, and again, nowhere in the bylaw does it stipulate that that has to come before council. This never, this procedure was in error right from the start. It never should have come before council. Public Service Department has the ability to grant consent. Not council. If council did, it would be in your bylaws. The council doesn't.
Yeah, it's an interesting interpretation of that.
Yeah, but again, you gotta be very clear on this. Bylaws are meant to be interpreted. It's no different, like I practice law every day in the POA court. And it's, and I'll tell you right now. The first thing that a JP will say to you is, what does the relevant legislation say? You might have your interpretation of it. The defense counsel might have an interpretation of it, the prosecution counsel might have an interpretation of it. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's what did it say?
And I think that that's ultimately where I think our direction will have to come from from legal as to what that means. So I don't think that. You know, if that decision was made in the past and you're asking us to revisit it, I mean, typically we don't overturn decisions that were made in the past by previous councils. But I think if I was to do that, I would want to make sure that I did it, you know, with you know, a legal opinion behind it. So
The other thing to remember too is that the consent was granted. Okay, consent was granted, the recommendation by your public works department to grant me the road cut permit. I should have been it done over with right there. Never should have come to council. The only way it will come to council is the bylaws allow it to come through that avenue. It didn't.
yeah, and that we'll have to, again, I think we're gonna have to put it back to staff for a legal opinion on it. Yeah, I just think we'll have to do that. I don't see. Unless there's, you know, some room between staff and yourself to solve this problem, but I don't get the impression that that's there, so.
It is there, again, I'll kind of reiterate the fact that as a drainage superintendent, this is what I do. This is my kettle of fish. I have the expertise. Or I have the equipment to do this at no cost to the taxpayer whatsoever. I'm bearing all the costs to do this. I'm draining your road water at the same time, and I'm more than happy to do that because it benefits everybody. And as I say here, and you know, 38-1, the other 38 is it'll take me 38 minutes to run that pipe across the road with my equipment. Time that we've discussed it and talked about it, it will be done.
Right.
All I need is the consent that under your own bylaw. You granted me.
And so typically, I think, you know, you have to have like 5 million for insurance.
That's
So I mean,
our parcel, right?
so as a corporate entity, you could provide that to staff that you would know.
We have to carry that liability all the time when we're doing child drainage.
So if you were able to make an agreement with staff, you would be able to comply with all of the conditions that they would have from you know, insurance to those sort of.
Yeah, no, we have to, on any installation that we're doing, it used to be 2 million, went to 3 million, now it's 5 million. Yeah, so we have to carry that with them. We also have to call Ontario One call to make sure there's no other infrastructure in the road.
So if they ask you for you know, like a traffic plan, then you'd be able to provide a detailed traffic plan of what, you know, how you're gonna close a road, do the construction and that sort of thing as well.
Now, in the original, you know, in the original proposal, we had set up to 4 hours. Like I said, probably can be done in 38 minutes. You have the revenue ability to be.
Okay, yeah, sure.
So, and I don't, you know, and I don't have all the details, I mean, I have, you know, I haven't been able to read this fully, obviously, we just got it, but. I did submit those as a dimension, but the culvert crossing there as well was something that the township was looking at. If that was something was required by the township, could you also accommodate that, not in the 38 minutes necessarily, but would that be?
Not quite sure.
You know, if the culvert that they talked about culvert, putting the pipe through the culvert, if that became a requirement, we still be able to accommodate that and.
Yeah, I think, what, you know, looking back now at the project, the culvert is probably not the best solution. The best solution is to plow in orange tile underneath the roadbed. It just eliminates a whole lot of problems, because if a culvert is installed, it's going to be below the grade, which pretty much renders the culvert useless. And all it does is it provides conduit for the power to go through. So, and it becomes a bigger job to install that. And then, again, the township wouldn't have the ability to install it, pipe, because they don't have the equipment yet. Machine to do that.
Thank you.
Now, you raised a couple of very interesting points, and I think, you know, for our own clarity, we need to get more information on them to be able to be able to. I don't want to say make a decision, because it could be to remove ourselves from the decision, right? So, but I think in fairness, we do need more information. We're learning on this as well. We're not expected to be experts on this. We're expected to make decisions based on information we receive from experts. So
And that's, you know, that again, kind of back, that's why the bylaw is written the way it's written, you know, council isn't, and you know, if regard to any, you're not very interested. And the reason why we hire staff is for those expertise, that's why you pay them, right? So that's why the board should lay with staff to grant that permit, to grant that consent, because they're the ones with the qualifications and the knowledge to be able to make that decision.
and ultimately there was a decision made, right? And we would be, you know, going against that decision to make a different one. So I think if we're going to do that, we're going to need some form of expert help to get us where we need to go.
And one thing I will add to it too is like, we started this new venture, you know, and we want to feel that, you know, township municipality does support business, you know, and we will be attracting a lot of international customers to the firm, just because of the uniqueness of what we're offering, and it goes, you know, it's kind of like one hand scratches the other, you know, scratches the back of another. We complement other agricultures and businesses within the township and within the general region. And so I just feel that it's something that, you know, the township would support.
Yeah, I think there's no doubt that that the township supports agritourism, and I for one say that I will certainly come out and try and unpack a tractor for sure. You can hold me to that. I think that as a bunch of old guys, that sounds like a fun trip.
I invite all and see what we're doing.
Yeah, but as far as the road cut and potentially setting a precedent on cutting and that sort of stuff, I think we need, for in fairness to the group at the table, we're a little green, and we want to make sure that we make, you know, data-based and decision-based, you know, proper decisions. So bear with us, give us the opportunity to make a decision, and then we'll go.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Sean.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Did you?
Oh, sorry, there's a question. I apologize. Yeah.
Through the marriage of Carmen, the water that's laying there now, usually I agree, there's no ditch on either side of that road. So while the water's laying there and you're gonna put it on the other side of it, it's just gonna lay on the other side of the road.
No, so just to give you some background, the west side of the road, I tiled it, probably 30 years ago. And there was an existing outlet into the South Mission River. So the outlet is there, it has a place to go. I just need to connect the two in order to get outlet.
So this, where the water's laying out, that field isn't tied.
It is, yeah, it was tiled last spring. So before we started construction on a new business, we made the decision that, you know, if we're inviting people onto the farm, we're inviting international customers onto the farm, we can't have them walking in the mud. That's just a no-no. You know, alpacas don't eat rice, they eat hay, hay doesn't grow in water. People don't walk in mud. And so we went ahead and tiled that side of the field last year. Unfortunately, due to my, I guess, assumption, I thought that would be a fairly simple process. Granted the permit and you would go ahead and connect.
So have you got engineers saying that this 4-inch pipe that you're gonna put through there will handle all the flow? Like you said,
You're looking at it as drainage superintendent, that's what I do.
Okay.
That's what I do.
So you don't, a culvert, you don't agree with putting a culvert in?
Well, I mean, we can't, I know initially, but we said that they were putting a culvert in, to act as a conduit to roll underneath the road. It is an option. But what I'm saying is with our equipment, with our tile drainage equipment, we can plow a pipe across the road, half the time and half the expense.
So I was reading too, you wanna shut the road down completely for.
We can still keep traffic going. Yeah, that's, and you have to understand, Campbell Road might see 8 cars a day. So
I know we've plowed it for 20 years, but what I'm asking is, the roads department can only shut down half the road.
yeah, and we would do the same.
Okay, that's what I wanted.
Yeah. We would allow traffic on outside the road.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Michael.
Sean, before you go, so. I think the logic behind a culvert probably is to protect the tile from getting crushed by weight or by volume. That's my assumption. So
Yeah,
it's not just that.
And yeah, and that's I say, once you get below 3 feet, I'm not, you know, there's no concern about impact to the tile at that point. If you were above the 3 feet, yes, there is concern that the impact of the tile would potentially be crushed. But the other, so that's not an issue. The other thing is that a culvert becomes a bit of an issue because we would have to bury it completely under grade and then put bulkheads on it to allow so that there'll be no backfilling within the culvert because the culvert will not be exposed. The other thing too is 4-inch tile. I have to lay it in with laser on grade. I depend on the ground to hold that grade for me. If it's laying in there in the culvert, there's a potential that it could potentially move inside the culvert, and the culvert itself would potentially move up and down the road. So.
And I think the only last question that I have, if you'll indulge me for one more, is downstream, you exit directly into the nation.
So it exits into the roadside ditch on the other side of what we call the schoolhouse. And then from there, it's about 50 feet to a cross culvert that goes under what is then called Better Road, which directly empties
Into the South Nation. So there's really, I guess, in your opinion, then there's very little impact or possible impact to those downstream.
There's no,
You're not pushing your water to anybody else. You're actually.
there's no impact. Is that outlet has been existing for over 30 years.
Yeah.
I'm just tying into a system that I created over 30 years.
Okay, okay. I just want to make sure that, because I think, in my limited knowledge of the Drainage Act, that as a application.
Yeah.
So,
No, we under the Drainage Act, we have to take it to what we call sufficient.
right.
I cannot do it.
And would a municipal ditch count as that?
Municipal ditch, so for that purpose under the Drainage Act, no, because the municipal, without consent from the municipality to outlet into a roadside ditch. Yes, into a municipal drain, absolutely, that's what municipal drains are designed for. To a roadside ditch, no, generally speaking, we have to ask consent to
So you still need consent to do that.
Yeah, and most times it's granted, unless for some reason it needs clean out or maintenance or something.
Yeah,
sure. And, so it's, and that, that was done like 30 years ago.
Yeah. I just want to try to get my brain around it.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
And Mike, I have a question, I'm just not sure, I'm just gonna ask you anyways for now, maybe there's a better person to answer it, but. So, with regards to maintenance and if it needs ever be replaced or repaired, how does that, what is the mechanism for that, is that? Once it's in there?
Yeah, I guess, at that point, a request, would have to be made back again for another road cut permit to dig up the impaired piece of the tile. It's very seldom that happens, if it's installed properly with a laser on grade. It's again, the tile, nobody actually knows how long it lasts. We started tiling with polyethylene tile back in the 60s, and it's, still there. Clay tiles, the Romans were installing 3,000 years ago, and they're digging them up and still finding them. So,
Bear with me. So then I think I'll ask the staff. So if Mr. Carmichael was to go under our road allowance and put a 4-inch tile through and the 4-inch tile collapsed, would it, because it's on now our road allowance, do we retain ownership of it? Does he retain ownership of it? Whose responsibility and liability does it become at that point? Or is that something that I can expect?
I would anticipate that it would be, I thought of it when you might say, responsible.
Okay, so
if I may,
yeah,
the bylaws is exactly what they're saying. The bylaws are very clear that any infrastructure, any plant installed under the right of way is the responsibility of the individual, either the individual, the utility company, wherever it is that installed that in the right of way to.
Okay, good.
Bylaw.
Does anyone have any further questions? So, staff's heard the discussion. Do we need to give you direction to bring us back more information or report, or to try to find a solution?
I believe that I have that direction.
Sufficient? Yeah. Good. So then I'll thank you again.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And so we will go back one on our agenda and welcome for delegations and presentations, Dr. Lynn. Thank you. Welcome.
I'm sorry. Here.
Anywhere up there is fine. Yeah, anywhere you're comfortable there is fine.
You've got to officer of health at least from Bill Leonard. Helping us, I apologize for being late. I went to Spencerville. And then there was nothing. And I watched, and then, yes.
I've done it as well. It's great in the spot.
Opportunities.
We actually did it that way on purpose.
Yes. So I'm here just to introduce myself, say hi, put faces to names, get to know these colleagues. I've been trying to stay for a little while at the municipal meetings to hear what all is going on during the meetings, what concerns have been. It's been really wonderful. I think I've done maybe it's 30 municipalities in the region, and I'll be going to each one over the course of now until the summer. And really, I'm here to talk a little bit about myself, speak very briefly about it. And so, in terms of an introduction to me, I've been here at Health Unit since September 1st. And so I've been here for 7 months and 8. Before that, I was at Toronto Public Health for about 2 years over the course of the pandemic. Before that, I was at Great Bruce Health Unit, which is the largest municipal center in town. And so that maybe familiar. And I had done my residency actually at Queen's where I had the opportunity to spend some time here at this housing unit under my predecessor, who was Paula Stewart, who many of you know. He was hired and this position came on. Excited and interested in applying, and so here I am. In terms of the work of the housing, there were a few things that I wanted to point out. One is, I think everyone knows that over the course of the pandemic, the housing had really oriented to be focused on COVID-19, on vaccination, on kind of response, outbreak response. That has largely been pulled into our usual work, and we're now transitioning to recovery. So going back to what we had previously done, and we're great deal more focused on a lot of the other work that we were doing that had to be paused to, for example, going to schools for high school vaccination, going to grade schools for training team for kids, working more closely with municipalities on non-COVID-19 related municipal things, working with community groups on disease prevention policy. So lots of other stuff that we're shooting to. The other thing I wanted to talk about was that we will be doing planning and renewing our strategic plan this year, and so that process is going to be happening over the course of the summer and into the fall. And our hope is that municipalities, when we seek partner feedback and comments, that municipalities will provide some of those comments for us, because you are some partners for us. I think municipalities work very closely on people's health and well-being, which is a lot of the work of public health as well, and so there's a lot of thoughts there. I think that's really it that I want to talk about in terms of introduction and things to give a heads up to. The last thing I'll mention is, I think everyone probably knows that Mayor Deschamps is part of our meetings, and
We finally meet in person.
I know.
Yeah.
You come and tell our board of health meetings online.
Yeah.
So the time will come.
Yeah, we're almost there. Yeah, we're almost there. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I'm gonna let the group ask some questions, and I have a couple of comments, and we do, if you're willing, want to get a quick picture with you, do a little social. Thanks. Wait, so I'll open the questions to the group if anyone has any questions of Dr. Lee Welsh.
No questions, thanks for coming.
Any other thing about
Have you?
No, great to meet you. Thank you. I read your articles coming from the health unit on a regular basis, so.
Good, thank
Yes,
you.
thank
It's
you.
good to know that you follow the cards and pretty.
No, thank you for coming. Nice to have the introduction, but I think we can say that our mayor representing us, the committee is going to be helpful as well. So, that's good. Thank you.
Yeah. Turn my ears right actually. It's good when I get embarrassed. So I think I'll say on behalf of our council, I've said this to you before in an email already, but on behalf of our council and here in person, March 23rd, the interim was removed from your title. So now you have the official title of medical officer of health for the East Grand District Health Unit. So on behalf of our council, congratulations on having that official title. That's fantastic. Now I'm going to hit you with a question, because you mentioned strategic planning, and unfortunately, I think as you heard during the board meeting, my schedule is pretty thin, and I won't be able to be part of that. I really want to be, but I don't have enough time. However, the curveball I want to throw at you is municipal council, especially lower tier municipal councils, are getting a lot of pressure to solve doctor shortage problems and doctor recruitment problems, knowing that public health units, number one mandate, or at least in my mind, the number one mandate is population health. is there a solution possible, or is there a strategic planning for the next till 2027, I think? Is there a synergy there where the health unit can focus somehow on helping us with doctor shortage, discussion?
Yeah, so there's a few ways that or a few things that I'll go through. The first is to set expectations. We will probably not get to do the bulk of that support. There are specific things that we will use. One is where there are elements of work that health unit is doing that relates to work that the primary care providers might be doing. We have been talking internally about supporting that. So one of the examples, for example, is child vaccinations, where there's been a lot of conversation about over the pandemic, some of the child vaccinations, there's probably kids that are behind. And we have kicked up our vaccine limits. Because of the need for capacity, because we know that there is already less availability of primary care in our region now, and there's going to be growing need for primary care and rural shortage. Impacting over the next 5 to 10 years. So that's one way. The second way is where we're able to provide clinical services, so for example, and services to be able to do it in a way that it goes to different communities and maintaining hours on site, travel to multiple communities rather than people travel to this. So that's one, is sort of like the specific clinical services that we provide. Is I'm not saying, it's not all the clinical services, right? So there's so much of primary care, licensed. There's so much that is not provided by health. The second is around health with planning and data. And so this is something that we've also been starting to work on, is where there's gaps on the need for primary care, where we can have, for example, where the clinic spaces are, and people they serve in populations or regions in these ground. So that's a piece of data that we've been looking at, and we will continue to be able to support. So those are probably the main two. The third is help with navigating the system, and this I want to be really careful on. The work of public health is, I would say, really broad, and sometimes you end up being so broad as to get pulled in all sorts of infections. And so it's important for us, and this is actually going back to strategic planning, is to have a good sense of who we are as an organization and the orders of what we're able to do or not to define that. And so I would say navigating the system is not a core part of how we need to work. However, we know that people call us asking, for example, about availability of dental work, availability of other clinical work. We do help navigate people in the system already, and that's something that we will continue to do. And that we do work with the clinical, so the healthcare system very closely. And the last thing I'll say is less direct support, but we do provide a voice at the table for Ontario health teams, which are the local system that would be sort of the core entity responsible for looking at resource and allocation of clinical services in our region. What is the Ontario health team for these clinical partners? That I won't get into today, but we do work very closely with them.
Thanks for letting me put you on the spot. And I was going to do it actually at the board meeting, but we weren't there to discuss strategic plan. We were there to discuss the framework of the strategic plan, so never got the opportunity. But I mean, the health unit has shown an ability to, switch its mandate quickly and efficiently and really like fantastically with when there's enough funding in place to do so. And as we continue to get pressure from, you know, the upper tier and from the province to put in money that our taxpayers put towards roads and sewers and things like that, we look for all solutions, and I'm hopeful that, you know, through some of these, it will take some of the burden off the docks and help them, you know, be able to be more efficient. So,
Future conversation.
yeah, absolutely. No, that's fantastic. So, anyone else? Did that spur anyone? Okay, so can we take 2 seconds then and jump in front of the flags and do a picture?
We just want to call it a 3 minute recess.
Yeah, sure. So do I need to call a recess? Yes. So I need a motion then to call a 2-minute recess. And so we move that, moved by Councillor Mertel, seconded by Councillor Ward, all in favor. It's council, you're supposed to have a time. When I'm the first, no, I wasn't, it was the second one for the meeting, by the way. But I say, when I'm the second one for the meeting, there's. You're gonna do sideways there.
Well, that's what's wrong with always drinking the pandemic, that I'm order. But it's video.
You don't really know. The only thing you taught me here just to do with things I notice is, and like there's a lot here. And I noticed, I noticed this.
Right. Place. I'm logging in. 3, 2, 1, geez.
Awesome. Thanks again for coming. Yeah. You could stay for as long as you want. Yeah, stay for as long as you want. You can ask questions at the end. So just thank you down to the consent agenda. So go. Bear with me, I'm just making sure I don't get lost. You give me these just so that I don't get lost. Then you can walk me through it if it happens. Okay, all right, so we're good to go? Yes. All right, call back, oh, sorry. Is that okay? Yes. All right, we're back in so I believe we are on to number 5, right? Consent agenda. All right. So items listed under consent agenda are considered routine and no longer require further discussion or enacted in one motion. The exception to this rule is that a member may request that one or more items be pulled for discussion and voted on separately. So does anyone, everybody sees what is under the consent agenda. Does anyone, you had the opportunity, it has been asked that if you want an item pulled out, that you do it in advance so that it doesn't end up in here. But I know we're all busy. Did anyone want item A through G removed from the consent agenda before we move on and pass them all on that one? Everyone's comfortable with what's there? Nodding their heads, yes, we're good. Okay, so then I should have on my. So it's Councillor Smale then, I believe, right? You should have the motion to bring consent agenda forward as presented, right?
I do.
Okay, can you do that?
It's moved by myself and seconded by Joe Martel, Councilor Bill Martel, that the municipal council receives and approves the following consent agendas item as presented. A, special council, March 23rd, 2023. B, regular council, March 27th, 2023. C, board management committee, March 20th, 2023. D, committee of the whole, Community Development, April 3rd, 2023. E, Committee of the Whole Administration and Operations, April 10th, 2023. F, Eastern Ontario Firefighters Association Convention. And G, the Ventnor Bridge Channel Armoring Contractors execute.
Good, thank you. Thank you. Further discussion, comments, questions on it? Hearing none, I will call the question then. All in favor? Unanimous. Good. All right, so. Okay, so this is where I may get a little messed up. So there is no item say, correct?
Through the chair, all of the minutes received under consent agenda, there really shouldn't be, but it is still open for anything outside of the not require approval of the minutes.
So discussion,
Not really discussion, when we can bring something forward inside of the minutes, which can also mostly be covered in the year.
business horizon. Sorry,
If it's something that you're wanting to raise, they can also be addressed. in the
so we would, I'm gonna move past 6 then if it's irrelevant, and then would we do it we wouldn't do it at business horizon, we would do it at inquiries and notices?
To the chair, you have the option of either, if you just want to bring something forward, you can do it now or under something further.
Okay, does anyone have any business horizon from the minutes? Hearing none, moving on then. So consent again, so all of 8 is gone. So then we are on to number 9A, which is the 2023 community grants and donations, and I believe Councilor Warren, you have that.
Yes, little novelette here, or moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Waddy Smale. That municipal council awards the community grants and donations as follows for the 2023 program. Rural FASD Support Network, $500. Food for All Food Bank, $2,000. The Spencerville Legion is $0. Spencerville Mill Foundation, $250. Johnstown ATV Club, $0. Granville County Historical Society, $250. Beacon Bags of Ontario, $1,500. Connect Youth, $2,000. South Granville Bluegrass Festival, $2,250. Sarah, $750. Johnstown Bear Paws Swim Team, $0. South Granville High School, $1,000. SBCC, $2,000. South Edwardsburg Public School Parent Council, $500. Friends of the Library, $0. Girls of Upper Canada, $1,000. Cardinal Legion, $0. Spencerville Agricultural Society, $1,000. And the Prescott Figure Skating Club, $0. For a total granted of $15,000.
Thank you, Councilor Ward. So to staff, just for a couple of clarifications on that, some of those $0 weren't that we didn't give them dollars. They didn't ask for dollars. Is that correct? They asked for in-kind support.
Through the chair, that's correct. Some of them, there are 1 or 2 that did ask for financial funding.
Yes.
And the other ones, the Franco Library and the Prescott Figure Skating Club didn't ask for financial contribution, but in kind.
Right.
The incline was our delegated to staff, so we wrote with them, this also was not needed.
Right, so while they were included in the last agenda package. Their request clearly stated that they were asking for 0 actual dollars. They were only asking, well, some of them were asking for a couple $1,000 in kind support, and council doesn't really approve that, as I found their last meeting and should have known over the last 4 years, but that's a staff function and staff does those approvals.
Correct. Correct. In the report that comes to committee, those values are defined, we just prepared them. So committees can write of how much staff time, dedication to facilities, rentals, etc.
Right. And just for clarity again, in respect to some of the other zeros, there are no requests that were outside of the purview of the grants and donations program. and/or didn't complete the necessary paperwork from previous grants and donations. Correct? Yeah, okay, just so that that's, you know, part of public record, because I think if somebody was to look at this, it could become a bit of a political, not nightmare, but a political document, but there's more to those zeros than what meets the eye on this quick motion, so.
Yes, through the chair, throughout the rest of this week, I'll be contacting every single one of those organizations individually and giving them letters, texts and requirements for future evaluations and people from correspondence, so the work isn't done yet, but this is just starting phase to get.
And we appreciate that work. So, all right, so everybody knows the numbers, that we're doing, both grants and donations and in kind. We had the discussion at committee. This is bringing it forward so that staff can get the money out into those organizations. Is there further discussion, comments, questions, anything at all? Nope. No, all right, hearing none, then I'm gonna call the question. All in favor? Unanimous. Good job. Guys are gonna get a gold star. Okay, so. Might have been a time for me. The meeting should have been over by now. Okay, we are done grants and donations, so then we are on to council, or is it 9B, council, yeah, so council response to the 2022 audit questionnaire, and I believe Council Martel, you have that item.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Warren Snail, that the municipal council authorize the mayor to sign the draft response letter to the auditors as a requirement of the annual audit as recommended by the committee of the whole administration and operations.
Thank you.
Welcome. Alrighty, the response letter for the audit, an annual one. I think everybody had a copy of that. Everybody's read it. It's one of those documents that I love having to sign and put my name on this year, I guess. Does anyone have any questions, comments before or input before I call the question on this? I did it actually. Because when I read through this, and my apologies to the CAO, I should have asked this question pre-meeting, but I think I know the answer. Because it's written in the background, but the library does their own financials. So they file their own audit letter, and the CEO for them would do the same as what we're doing, or do I sign their audit letter as well? Or do they have one?
To the mayor, you would not see or sign.
I would not see or sign theirs. So we'll just get the financials from them next year, correct? Okay, and this year, next year? This year, okay, and I'm 99.9% sure on this one, but I want to ask to be 100% is this. I will sign a very similar letter to this one in regard to the port, because the port does its own financials, correct?
Yeah.
This one doesn't constitute signing for the port. I have to sign a separate one for the port. Okay, because I think when I read it, I got a little stuck on it because it just said the annual audit, and nowhere in there it says the township annual audit. It just says the annual audit. It does in the descriptive backward, but in the operative it doesn't. And I know what the letter is for, I know what the purpose is, but the motions doesn't specifically say township, and I meant to ask it earlier and I didn't want to come up on it, but I will sign a separate one for the board. So, and the library does their own, and I don't see it. Okay, cool. All right. So that was my question. My apologies for not asking in advance. All right, so no further discussion. Then the question for me to sign the letter, all in favor? Of course you're in favor. Okay, the next one, item E then is the port, the transfer balance of a small amount of leftover, and Councillor Ward, I think you have that?
Yes. Moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Whitesdale, that municipal council directs staff to transfer the total remaining funds in the Port of Johnstown's Royal Bank Trust account to the Port of Johnstown Scotia High Interest Savings Account, HISA, as recommended by the Port Management Committee.
And we had discussion about this at the port committee. It was a small amount that was left over from the closure of an investment that's been sitting around in an account, gaining a very small amount of interest. It's grown to $5,000.
Yeah, 51.
Something like that as an overlap. Now, correct me, I think I'm correct in this, but it is going from an investment account. We decided at the table that night that it's going from an investment account to an investment, account, right? And staying in investment.
Yeah, and I believe it was actually going into the account where the other money is going into as well.
Where everything went, so the investments is all. Okay, yeah, so, and I just, did this. So I think that was it for questions. Anyone else have anything else to add on that? No, all right then, so moving it's not pull off, but finally getting that account closed and move back into the other investment account. So all in favor? Opinions? Okay, then we are on to the tender award for the Newport Municipal Drain East Branch, and Councillor Smale, I believe you have that.
Yes. Moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Joe Martell, that the municipal council awards the construction of the Newport Municipal Drain East Branch to McMillan's Construction Limited at a cost of $211,858.42, excluding the HST, and direct staff to execute and require contract documents.
Thank you.
Had a few questions on this one myself today. Just for clarity, it's not the entire portion that we're awarding. It's very clear once you look at the map. It's the red outlined is the part. The yellow part would be the United Counties Leeds Grenville's portion. And they'll submit, they're not done, they're not done the engineering on that, and they're not ready to go with that this year, but we'll be continuing from Highway 2 down to the river outlet, correct? And that's what this contract covers.
Mayor, correct. I guess maybe it's the members of council one from the page 44 and 144 is the map.
Everybody get there? Yep.
So the east branch, the full east branch consists of the yellow shaded area, the red circle area on County Road 2, and then basically everything south of County Road 2 crosses Windmill Road. And it actually goes under the rail spur line in the St. Lawrence River. Right. So what we're awarding in this particular contract is all of the work south of County Road 2. The County Road 2 culvert that is not in the contract is still in the design phase, and the plan would be that culvert replacement and the work in the yellow shaded area would be done in 2021 as part of that culvert replacement, therefore not really requiring an elaborate traffic control plan from the working function.
And just for clarity, so the total cost of the entire project as done by the engineers was 300 and some thousand, would have included this portion as well.
That is correct.
Yeah, so the 211 that we're approving, the estimate for that was 194, 195, something in regard to that. Yeah. Okay. So slightly over budget, but not out of the realm of this world of craziness for 2 years difference or year.
Actually, I would say that it was more than one that I would have anticipated, just given the fact that it was November 2021 and we ended up doing the submissions of early 2023. So, 18-month span It's a reasonable time.
Good, all right. All right, further questions, any comments, any?
So I just couldn't believe the spread of the various things, but I guess that's the reality of today. We're happy with the low ones came in, I think. And I think you have your homework, it looks like as well, on them as well, because, you know, it sounds like we've heard these before, but we've got some reference points, I think. So,
Yeah, so we're comfortable with the bidder that we're engaging, correct?
Yes, the engineer and contract administrator on the project has worked with this company on a few drains of similar nature and scope, and is confident that the ability is there in the previous jobs completed.
Good, yeah, all right, so moved, seconded, if there are no further comments, then I'm gonna call the question. No comments, good, all in favor? Good. Okey-doke. So we are on to the joint management board, the approval of the 2023 wastewater treatment plant budget, and Councillor Martel, do you have that one?
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Juan Smale, whereas the joint management board for the wastewater treatment facility met on March 30th, 2023 to review the 2022 year-end report and the 2023 wastewater treatment plant budget. And whereas during the joint management board meeting, the 2023 wastewater treatment plant budget was approved by the board. Now therefore may it be resolved that the council of the corporation of the township of Edmonton receives and approves the joint management board 2023 wastewater treatment plant budget.
Good, so, a small amount of background for the new folks, on council, we, in the past, I don't believe that the budget was held up, for our township, correct, Stan?
Through the mayor, there have been several years where it was just sort of carried forward. There wasn't the regular schedule of meetings.
Right. And so for the, you know, the benefit of the members at the table, Edwardsburg Cardinal owns a portion of that system, correct? Services the industrial park.
Yeah, so the township, I believe it was
Say this right.
in 2014. We would have purchased 10% capacity of the system, so I believe that's roughly around 470 cubic meters a day, I believe. So
It's a well negotiated contract, and it's capacity of the system that we own.
it is.
And we did that for. That was $1 million towards their system, towards their investment. Sorry,
Yeah, sorry, yeah, it was.
Basically what it does, so that for the benefit of everyone, is that it gives us water to the industrial park, and it gives us a seat on their water management board. Wastewater management board, sorry. And currently that in the previous, that was the mayor, and it is myself right now. So what we did, they didn't pass the wastewater portion of their budget with their Prescott budget, right? They're waiting to pass out of respect to us and the working agreement that we have with them, because we do have a say on that board. That it comes back to our council for our council's consideration. We approve it, and we approve it, that approval goes back to Prescott saying that we've approved it. We have already approved it through that meeting. I did as our representative, and but then they will pass it at their meeting as well. And so this was I think it's a little smoother process, right?
Yeah,
Just speak a little.
Yeah, through the mayor, yeah, typically, the board would approve the budget and then it just goes back to the respective council. To ensure each council is aware of the board decision and, you know, if there isn't any, relatively, glaring issues, but this one looks like a pretty straightforward, proposal.
And it's worthwhile noting that the prescribed meetings and meeting amount of meetings, the intent of whatever the policy is, we're making every effort to comply to the specific you know, meeting requirements in that policy, correct? Now we're moving forward, instead of having one a year, we're gonna get to whatever 3 or 4 or whatever the actual number is, and we're gonna follow that policy.
Yeah, I believe it's a requirement for at least 2 meetings, two meetings a year, so I have faith that we'll have those 2 meetings a year and get back on track, and this is one of the clauses that we just want to make sure that we started incorporating it, just to make sure. All members of council were aware of the budget that was passed and the balance.
Yeah. Keeps everybody a little bit better informed. Yeah, correct. Okay. All right, so questions, does anyone have questions in regard before we?
It's just a little one, and I apologize to the CAO as well, because I also didn't give any advance notice. I had a question written down that I forgot to ask you, offline. But I see that the 2022 budget versus actual cardinal water flow, I guess flow that we have is 7.46 was the budget, and then 9.34 was the actual. And I guess there's a difference of about $18,000 on that. So we budgeted this year, it looks like for 8.5. So if that goes above 8.5, then we just pay the extra. And that's just, it's that simple equation, or is it?
Yeah, so through the mayor. So as I indicated before, we purchased 10% capacity, but the actual operating costs are based on the actual flow allocations. So there's a flow meter leaving Prescott, and then flow meter at the intake of the wastewater treatment plant. So basically, the difference between the flow at the wastewater treatment plant versus the pumping station just like Prescott is the difference. So we had a couple instances in 2022 where one of the industries actually had a pretty substantial water leak that was actually conducted lead into the sanitary sewer, and it's picked up on that relatively quickly and locate that, but it was substantial enough that actually increased our flow for that year, so that's why we reduced it a little bit. Just it happened, I believe, 2 or 3 times a year, so we're hopeful that the old piping has been fully replaced and we won't have much in the way of surprises.
Good. Those clients. Whole conversation. Now that you say that. Yep.
I apologize for the lengthy one, but
No, it's good. No, it's, I think every bit, especially because, I mean, as the alternate, and then I sat in on one meeting during the last 4 years, I think. It's certainly not something that we know a lot about unless we choose to do a deeper dive. But it means an awful lot to the township and to the industrial park, and it has large implications. And I think the more we know about it, the better. So taking a little extra time to do the explanations is a good thing. So yeah,
I'd just like to thank our mayor for working out with this. We only have one vote at a. What I think we're outvoted for sure. What is it? 8 to 1 or
those 4 representatives from the Prescott.
yeah, so 4 to 1, but it's great to know that both townships are working together on this, and it was short and sweet, and I think we came out, on a fair deal. So Thank you again for
Yeah, thanks, it's a good, there's a, you know,
working relationship. And that's what we need.
between the staffs, the staffs are certainly respectful of each other, but everybody at the table is very respectful of each other, and the meetings were really good, and I fully expect that as we move forward, especially if there's an increased capacity, that that's always going to be a discussion, and the need to, negotiate may come, but the discussions are very respectful, and staff does a fantastic job there as well, so. To everyone involved. All right, let's call the question. All in favor? Good, move on. All right, just interesting one. So, who has this? Oh, good, you look like a big one. All right, so the Prescott Family Health Team Letter of Support, and Deputy Mayor Dillabaugh, can you bring that motion forward?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and second by Councillor Smell. Whereas on February 2nd, 2023, the province of Ontario released Your Health, a plan for connected and convenient care, with a goal to make healthcare more convenient for Ontarians by connecting them to care closer to home. And whereas on March 23rd, 2023, the provincial budget included funding committed towards the expansion of the existing primary care teams, allocated to 18 new teams. And whereas Prescott Family Health Team is well positioned to apply for the provincial funding opportunity to hire more medical professionals such as nurses, nurse practitioners, along with the multidisciplinary professionals to provide care for more patients. And whereas the Prescott Family Health Team intends to submit funding application and has requested letters of support from all 3 South Grenville municipalities to show that primary health care is important to the government and the communities. Now therefore be resolved that the Council, Corporation of Township of Everettsburg hereby supports Prescott Family Health Team's application submission under the Your Health Plan to connect in a convenient care to hire additional medical professionals. And further, the council directs staff to develop a letter to support the authorization, the mayor to sign the letter.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Well overdue, I'm excited.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, well, before we go any further, I'll just ask, does anyone have any questions in regard to the letter of support?
Yeah.
No.
Thank you.
So the only comment that I will say is, during our tri-municipal meetings, there were lots of discussions about physician recruitment and trying to make sure that we support, a lot of our residents use the Prescott Family Health Team. So at those tri-municipal meetings, there were lots of discussions, had Dr. Matthews presented to us, and there were lots of varied discussion around how we as a municipality could help with the success of the continued success of the Prescott Family Health Team. When we would certainly recognize its value to our residents, and certainly of all of the municipalities surrounding us. There's lots more than just our 3 municipalities that use the physicians and the PAs and everyone at that clinic. So it's very, very valued. I think it's worth noting, though, in this is that they are submitting for a funding application, but they are not asking us for financial backing of this at this time in this letter. Am I correct? I'm just asking that to staff. So this is just a letter of, or not just, I mean, I think it pulls a lot of weight, but it's showing to the government that it's a a letter of support that we support them in their pursuit of adding more professionals to be able to offer services and funding in our areas, a little bit of growth. So this is our verbal backing, our written backing, and they may come back for financial support at some time, but there's nothing in this that ties us to financial support.
Good, Ray, that is correct. There is nothing at this particular time. Ideally, we would have wanted, Dr. Matthew the presentation at the, council meeting, and, unfortunately, the date got pushed back, and the funding application is due by the end of the month, so that is why unfortunately, it didn't get on, but we try again for one of our committee meetings, because it would have at least bring this forward to the committee meeting, but we're still on a time crunch, so it just went straight to the council. I apologize for that.
And as I stated earlier to Dr. Lee, you know, 1.8 million folks in Ontario without a family doctor, certainly being pressured both at this level of government and at the upper tier to help find, you know, solutions for recruitment and making sure that the continued success of something that's already in place and already very successful, and so that continues to even grow and expand and better serve our residents and our neighboring residents. This seems like a very easy letter, and I will say that I am so happy to be able to put my support behind it. So
Good, yes. Well overdue.
yeah, okay. So further discussion, call question, anyone else? No.
I didn't know what, on page 75, I didn't know what it was, and I read it as a fax machine. That's how outdated they have. Yeah,
They still fax our access to pharmacies. Yeah, they do.
I'm not,
They did.
it's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, okay, so no further discussion. We're good. All right, then I'll call the question for the letter of support. All in favor? That's it. Just the unanimous machine. Until now. All right, correspondence, Councillor Smale, can you bring that forward?
I submit. Moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Joe Martell, that the municipal council receives the correspondence listing to the following dates as previously circulated: March 29th, 2023, April 5th, 2023, April 12th, 2023, and April 19th, 2023.
Thank you.
Thank you. So various correspondence, when the correspondence comes in, gets sent out by, I think most often it's our deputy clerk that sends out correspondence to the councillors, keeps them up to date on various things that are going on and around us and from other municipalities. Also gives them the opportunity to have something pulled from correspondence and added to any agenda for support or for discussion. We have before us the list of correspondence, and it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion in regard to correspondence at all? No. All right, then I'll call the question on support on the correspondence. All in favor? And next is the approval of municipal disbursements. And I believe Councillor Martell, you have that to bring forward.
Moved by myself, excuse me, seconded by Councillor Waddy Spale, the municipal council receives the payment of municipal invoices circulated and dated as follows. Report dated March 30th, 2023-075 for $1,710,056.38. Report dated March 30th, 2023-058 for $184,101.78. Report dated April 14th, 2023-065 for $105,192.05. Report dated April 20th, 2023-066 for $232,577.23. Report dated April 20th, 2023-067 $520,060.14 for a total of $2,751,987.58.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Certainly a busy batch of disbursements there for sure, to the general nature of doing business. So, does anyone have questions in regard to the municipal invoices or or any of the disbursements. Anyone have any? No.
No, I guess it's not really a question, the play structure, I guess, 63, 68, I guess is the item number. I guess that's the Region Park playground, I'm assuming, and then that'll be reimbursed by Giant Tiger later date, and I can't remember if I saw somewhere else, so I guess we'd like to thank Giant Tiger for that, obviously, for helping the community with that, investment, so.
Yeah, through your, I can plan it within the next several weeks to get the structure installed and then look to have things opening. When we recognize and have members of council present, I don't think we'll be declining for.
Well, I want to try this live. Okay, further questions in regard to disbursements? Hearing none, then I will call the question. All in favor? Okay, we are on to the bylaw portion of the meeting. So 6A, which is the sports memorabilia donation and display policy. Did I say 6A? Oh, my apologies, 12A. The bylaw portion, the sports memorabilia donation and display policy, which is Deputy Mayor Dillabaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Smell that the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to adopt the sports memorabilia donation and display policy. And this shall constitute the first and second reading thereof.
All right, first and second reading of the sports memorabilia bylaw thoroughly discussed at council or at committee more than once. We've had a discussion on this first and second reading. Call the question. All in favor? Unanimous, so we can proceed to third reading.
Moved by myself, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Mr. Smell that the bylaw adopt the sports memorabilia donation and display policy be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, number 2023-27.
All right, now, moved, seconded, third reading. Is there further discussion? Anybody want to comment on sports memorabilia before I go forward?
So just a small comment, I mean, I think that, I'm assuming it was the clerk and help. Did a great job, I think, of capturing, we went all over the map on this discussion, and I think we captured it pretty well as far as both the physical as well as the electronic storage of these things, so thank you very much for the fine work. Like I said, it looks exactly what we expected it to look, so thank you.
Well noted. Did you were mumbling? Did you want to?
No, it's great. I'm glad it's over. Right.
Either of you folks want it? No, I just want to echo Councillor Ward's comments, both to staff and to recreation staff. You know, we are happy that there's a willingness to bring forward new and innovative ideas such as the digital storage, so that everything will be well represented and give a point of interest in the arenas, and that we actually continue to celebrate, you know, some of the successes on the floor, and the willingness of staff to do some of that is fantastic, and we'll make sure that we keep those facilities looking fantastic and looking clean. So thanks for the support on those. So further discussion on third reading at all? Anyone? No? All right, all in favor? That is. All right, and the last one, which is the LOU, the letter of understanding with the QP local 2311-02, the wage rates for 2023, and Councillor Ward, I believe you have that.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Whitesdale, that the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to enter into a letter of understanding, Appendix A, wage rates, January 1, 2023, for 1.25% adjustment. The Canadian Union of Public Employees Local 2311-02, and this shall constitute first and second reading thereof.
All right, first and second reading, any discussion on this before I go to third reading? Hearing none, I will call the question, all in favor?
Okay, sorry, I'm here, sorry. Sorry, go to the next part.
You can move to third reading.
All right, moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Waddy Smale, that a bylaw to enter into the letter of understanding appendix A, wage rates, January 1st, 2023, for 1.25% adjustment with the Canadian Union of Public Employees Local 2311-02, be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2023-28.
Thank you very much, Councilor Ward. So, any further discussion on this before I call the question? No, then I will call the question. All in favor? Unanimous. All right, so just a couple of comments in relation to this bylaw. That I am extremely proud of all of our staff, of our group around the table, staff taking non-unionized staff, getting 3%, the willingness of council to take 0% increase and help out our union employees that were getting 1.75%, fairly negotiated raise in a very much a different time in life. The 3% that we're bumping it up to it isn't reflective of the impacts of inflation on them, but it is a good gesture, I believe, on council's behalf, and I am thoroughly thankful and impressed that the group at the table made the choice to harmonize unionized and non-unionized and was willing to take a 0% increase to get us there. So I think very respective of the difficult time that everyone is facing as taxpayers and ratepayers, but also fair for our employees as well. So well done to everyone, and I'm sure I am not privy to the discussions of anything that went on with the union, but I'm sure that they were fairly well and happy and receptive, maybe to be getting an extra small increase. Good. All right. So I will. I've already called the question for third reading. Yeah. Good. So next, moving on to the CAO's administrative update. I'm going to put it on the floor first, and then we can go through it. So, Councilor Martelli, bring that forward.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Waddy Smale, that municipal council receives the CAO's administrative report as presented.
All right, so to the CAO. Absolutely, yeah, go for it. We're going to continue. To the CAO, you can begin your report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple items that will be upcoming at the community development community retreat, but we were successful with respect to our partnership with North Gribble on the tourist we bring in. So we'll have some more information coming up next week, but our financial contribution will be $3,750. We also have submitted under the CWF, the Monarch Restoration Program, to look at establishing a demonstration habitat garden, and we should hear back reading and around May 1st. So all of those good information that community development committee. Sanitation Conservation Free Tree Day, so we can residents can register on our website, and it's being managed by the Conservation Authority, and that pickup will be at some point in May. And if there are any members of council that want to participate, but can be noted a tree or two, and just let me know.
What was the date?
I'll provide that to members. there's interest, what we don't want is residents that didn't register for the tree pickup to just go out and anticipating that they'll receive free trees. Under building and planning, is that staff that received some online training with respect to minimum distance separations put on by NAFRA. And we will have some attending the Nation Conservation Municipal Information Day this Wednesday. With respect to bylaw, just the spring arrival, and there's a greater emphasis on clean guards and potentially rating any airlift vehicles during that spring cleanup phase. On page 2, treasury, just to indicate that we did submit under the inclusive community grant to extend the multi-use accessible pathway. With respect to facilities and recreation, there were a number of Earth Week activities that were completed. So a great job with respect to the industrial park businesses collaborating along with our own staff to do some cleanup in the Riverland area. I heard the barbecue lunch was very good. Also agreed on April 21st, clean up with the village of Cardinal, and on Saturday, Sarah did a community cleanup in Johnson area. With respect to the pool heaters, that capital project, the heaters are on order and pending their arrival to be installed and ready for mid-June. We have already touched on the giant tiger replacement earlier. Docks has been installed and the picnic tables for machines, etc. Are planned for install later this week or the next. Public Works operations, Southern Branch Road, so township and North Benville staff met with respect to the project on. Hopefully, in the next few weeks, roadside work will begin. County Road 2 kickoff meeting was held. I believe there were 21 individuals present. And that project is anticipated to begin mid-May. Environmental services, respect to just a couple of notes with the wastewater treatment plant during the spring runoff and that substantial rain event that we had. Flows were exceeded and referred to the appropriate agencies, downstream user. Health unit and MDCP. Same with the special pumping station #1. It exceeded just a short duration of bypass. Those were important as well. Windmill pumping station. So staff has been sort of on bandage mode as Greenfield Global has ramped up their the flow, which is maximizing the current pumps and causing some issues with the variable speed drives. But hopefully by the end of this week, we will reach that point where we'll be at Greenfield Global shutdown and schedule that new pumps and panels installed and. Hopefully we'll have a smooth start up mid-field spring. Long and short, I guess this sort of drew upon an issue that may have arose in maybe a year from now. The variable speed drives. So it's kind of a good thing that this project is moving forward and we have the equipment on hand ready to be honest. With respect to fire department, as council aware, appreciation dinner scheduled for May 27. Tanker one was, should be in service relatively soon. As indicated earlier today, the township line fire ban has been lifted due to so the weather conditions and items greening up. As under emergency management, the program committee met earlier today. And there was a number of activities scheduled for emergency preparedness week between May 7th and 13th. And probably the highlight is the contest with the schools. So I'm sure that the one lucky winner from each school will be the champion of the class in the pizza party. And a complimentary emergency kit. I expect the pizza party will be well received compared to the emergency kit.
The deputy mayor gets somebody into that.
You'll probably get it.
Probably.
But it all to be,
Thank you for the report, CAO, certainly. Lots of good and busy things going on. I am sure, I know, again, like I said, I neglected, my questions, so I have a few, but I'm gonna open it to committee to ask in advance, and hopefully it'll be month. So, anyone, Councillor Smanley?
I just have one,
Sure.
through the mayor to the CAO, to Mike Spencer, the recreation, the docks are in according to the report of the handles and whatever we're putting on from the seniors. On there now already, or will they be solved later?
we'll figure that. I think that was it.
Thank you.
Sure. One, continuing on with the docs, we still have one more, right, to go in, Mr. Spencer, do we check the?
Everybody else, it's on order and they do be delivered hopefully by the end of this week, by late next week.
Oh, good, not July or August.
No.
Perfect. Good.
Anything else?
Yes, I'm sorry. The community grants for heading Richardson Point. What grant is that? Is that like a Trillium grant, and when does it expire? Or when will we know if we have it? Do we check the CVO?
That is,
Page 139.
yeah. That we likely won't know for a couple of months, and I believe that the project would start if successful. It can't begin until August 1st, and it must be completed by March 31st of 2024. So it's a pretty tight timeline. So I anticipate that we probably won't know if we're successful or not until the July deadline.
Just one more, Mr. Mayor, if I may.
You can continue right along.
Page 140. I had lunch yesterday. I think it's page 140, maybe not. Anyways, I had lunch with a bunch of people from our township. And kudos to our public work guys for cleaning up the roadside and brushing. Everybody's happy, and can't believe how well it looks. So please pass that on, Gordon. And they're happy with the snowplow removal this year too, and so on and so forth. So just a thank you to the public works guys for the job well done. I see Mr. Spencer, you guys are on your way. You're busy too, so. And thank you for picking up the garbage on Saturday. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Councillor Ward.
Well, I think the deputy mayor stole all my notes, so at some point in time, but the only thing that wasn't said so far that I had was, you know, with the fire truck, take number one, I know that it's, you know, these are not just like getting a new car and driving it off the lot. There's a lot of work to be done, like training as well, and I'm assuming there's a lot of work being done on learning how to use it as well. And so, you know, just glad to have that in service soon. I think you said soon, so, you know, looking forward to that.
Thank you for that. That's it. Yeah, no, that's not it. I've got a couple as well. One is you know, we don't have to do a meeting, but I'm going to anyways. I know I spoke with Mayor Peckford and for the Totem Ranch Road, and for the RTO Summit. She would be interested in doing some kind of a collaborative picture, so can we, try to arrange something where we can get, at least one member of council out there to do a picture with them, in regard to those two projects that, I think it's the tourism sign project and something else. If we can do something with them, that'd be great. The question for the Monarch program, is it wildflower program or monarchs? Or is Monarch the name of it?
So the Monarch restoration program, the Monarch butterfly is sort of that key pollinator that they're focusing on.
Yeah.
But it's really a all program, so it's sort of a need of,
That's the Victoria Woodhouse with
that is
one that I'm trying to do for a while, right?
that is.
Okay.
And
And
the thought was that we would do, during as a starting point. Before we can see. Areas with respect to.
okay, so we identified an area that they're comfortable with and we're comfortable with.
We identified a few areas and I'll certainly bring that forward next week.
Okay.
For discussion, just in case the committee and council are not on board, that the area that selected, it was a tight timeline, so staff looked at a few areas and submitted those. There is some ability to relocate those areas as long as we're looking at the same size.
So just for clarity, it reduces, pesticide use in those areas. It reduces the need for mowing. But they're still usable areas, like if we put them down along the waterfront or something like that, it still doesn't restrict use. People can still walk the areas and use the areas.
They can still walk and use the areas. One of the I think, ideas or concepts behind the garden was that we put signage and provide some educational pieces as well with respect to what it is, why it is, the benefits of what that what the program is doing as part of that bigger climate change initiative with respect to that, because I anticipate on the right of ways between the backside of the ditch and fence line, there will be a percentage that would want that mowed, a couple times a year, and there may be a percentage that wouldn't want that. So it may be a little bit more challenge moving forward with respect to the areas where that actually work. So I thought it would be good to gauge and a conversation in public forum, but just
Yeah, well, I have to compliment staff. I've pushed for this one for several years now, and I was so happy to see it finally come forward for a group at this table to look at things through a little bit of a different lens than what we typically do from a straight up financial or that to actually take time to look at something through, a climate effect or a way that we can help do a part. It's fantastic. So again, I'm happy to see this one come forward. So if you'll bear with me for a couple more quick ones. Tree allotment, we're halfway done. Do we need people to is that something that we need to promote on our social media and promote to our residents to make sure that all of the trees get spoken for?
Through the mayor, it certainly would be beneficial to have all the trees, so yes, by all means.
Okay. And
I should say spoken for us.
yes, sure. And if there was something about that for our social media that we could share, that would be for tree day would be.
Yes, we have been posting, but we can certainly.
I'll see if I can find it then. I haven't seen it. Okay, and I think he answered this before. It's July deadline for the Trillium Fund one. I think it was a Trillium Fund one for the pathway.
The inclusive communities.
Yes,
I don't anticipate that the submission timeline was last Monday. So, but I'm anticipating that we won't hear it until July. Work can't really start until August 1st.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if I think the notification, but one way or the other.
going.
So.
Well, it's great, things in. No, it's good, it's good. And my last one is in regard to the new initiative, and it's to Mr. Spencer for the pool heaters. Will we be opening the pools a little bit earlier then, like, once we get those heaters and get them installed and get things going, are we ready to get them rocking quicker or sooner? And
Sorry, to the chair, the plan will be to have the permanent pool open the weekend of the 7th and 8th of June to do some testing and instructing for our guards that were hiring. So that's that weekend, and then the following weekend, it will be open as well as the Johnston pool.
Good, so that's coming soon.
It'll be evenings though, and weekends, and that will only be provided that we can stop it. There's a lot of our lifeguards that should are high school students, and they obviously still be in school through, I think it's the 25th or 26th of June this year.
Well, I think that's fantastic to hear that you'll have water in them at the beginning of June, and that it'll be warm enough to swim in and to actually do classes and.
Provided they can.
Yes. Well, otherwise,
They will be ready. They will be ready because that weekend, regardless of whether or not the heater's in, the testing and the
it's more.
they will be.
It's whether they'll be warm or cold. All right, fair enough. Well, I think there's a lot, I think the process can be very interesting to hear about, how quickly they'll heat the water, how efficient that they are. I'm very, very interested in hearing, that response, but also the community response to what's there as well. I think it's going to be a fantastic response from what I hear from my residents. And I love the idea that they're going to make it usable a little bit. So, that's something I didn't initially support. I'm slowly falling in line. I'll get there. I appreciate it. And well done for getting the docs. And it's in
Yes,
my
thank
mayor's
you.
report, but I'm super thankful.
The other one, they just received an email with the installed.
It's so good. Thanks, so good. I did have one more question for you, and I know you did the SNC meeting. And I emailed and asked about accessible kayak docks. Was there any discussion on that or no?
To the chair, no, there was not at that meeting, I think, provided enough on our initial discussion, but I will move back because we run a pretty tight timeline on a couple of those projects, so I want to make sure that the focus is on that.
Just
a little bit.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking in my brain that the Spencerville Mill poker run is coming up, and the canoe and kayak poker run at the end of May. And I'm just, I think it's a perfect opportunity for showing off of one of those docks. So I was kind of hopeful that maybe somebody bring one along and show what they look like, but I don't think that's, I'm not asking you to ask for that.
This
An accessible. Oh, yeah, I'll get you one. They're fantastic. So. Anyways, I am hopeful that it happens. So any further comments, questions? I know that was too long, but. I normally do them all in advance, didn't I? We're good?
Yeah.
All right, so I think that's been moved, hasn't it? Or is there? It's moved, it's on the table. I don't have it in front of me. What are you? Just who moved it? Do you still have it? Did you pass it down? You do not?
I gave you.
Okay, well, I've got it somewhere. Here it is. All right, so, that municipal council receives and those administrative report is presented. All in favor? Good. Then we are on to inquiries and notices of motion. Does anyone have any inquiries or notices of motion?
I just have I guess it's an inquiry. I was invited a couple of weeks ago through the chair to drop a puck tomorrow at the ladies hockey at an ingredient center. one of the organizers contacted me today and confirmed that I was coming and wants to invite anyone from council who wanted to show up. You're more than welcome. Tomorrow in Reading Center. 11:30, no Leafs jerseys.
Please, and I know you don't love pictures, but please get a couple of pictures for the promotion of that. I think it's a fantastic initiative. Unfortunately, I can't be there.
What is it?
But
I'll touch you.
yeah, just if you would. Thank you. Good, and thank you for that. So no further queries, no motion. Moving on to mayor's report, simple, very quick report. I just want to say thank you to so many of our residents, our commercial and industrial partners, and to, the deputy mayor and to staff, for the time that they took away, during this week, the Earth Day and Earth Day week, I guess we call it, for the cleanup of the community. I know there was, all across, I saw social media posts from Augusta and from all over the place about the cleanup that's being done in our entire Leeds Grenville area, and everybody needs to be commended, especially all of our local folks and our commercial industrial partners. One that hasn't been mentioned is the schools. I know my kid was out there and he talked to me and told me about how much there was and how hard it was to pick it all up. So even the kids were out helping out and trying to make a little bit of difference in cleaning up the garbage. So well done to absolutely everybody involved. We should be proud of the work that we've done. So fantastic. Yeah, that is a fun work. And we already talked about it in the CAO's report, but I just wanted to do another slow clap to our recreation department for getting their docks in well in advance of opening season. There's lots of boats out on the water already, and I know that they're utilizing that area and getting it in. It does mean a lot. I know it's a little bit of an increase in the service, for folks, but that's something that we're here for, and we're glad that you're supporting us and getting them in as soon and as soon as.
I can just add that of course, partner also, go back to getting those installed, so just.
Thank you for that. Thank you for adding that in as well. So to the public works folks as well, if you'll extend that along to everyone involved in getting that. We are certainly appreciative. I know the residents are happy that they're in there sooner than later. So thanks for that. And that's, I think, it for me.
Moved by myself and seconded by Mr. Smell, that the municipality council receives the mayor's report as presented.
I'm gonna call the question. All in favor? I'm laughing, but I just know. All right, so we are on the question period. Does anyone have any question? There's nobody on Zoom. There's nobody left in the gallery. We've talked them to death. There is no closed session tonight. We are on to the confirmation bylaw. I'm not sure who has the confirmation bylaw.
It landed in my file, so
All right, perfect.
moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Lonnie Smale, that it confirm and ratify that as dealt with by resolution we now pass, signed, sealed, and number 2023-29.
Oh, sorry. Thank you very much. Comments, questions? No, I don't think there are any on this. All in favor? Everyone understands what it is. All right, then I need the motion to adjourn.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Lonnie Smale, that the municipal council does now adjourn at 8:32 p.m.
Non-debatable motion, all in favor? Adjourn.
Oh, but what's
It's some sort of.
On that Tuesday.
But I remember.